Continue unabated in Bangladesh. This as a Hindu man named Deepu Chandra Das lynched, tied to a tree and burnt alive in Bangladesh over fabricated blasphemy allegations. Bangladesh descends into widespread protests, arson and vandalism, but Mohammad Yunus pays lip service. Aam Aadmi Party MP Sanjay Singh insults Lord Ram, says there's Ram in Haram too. BJP calls this an attack on Hindu sentiments. With Deputy Chief Minister D.K. Shivkumar not present in the House, Karnataka CM Siddaramaiah goes on the offensive, denies power sharing deal on the floor of the Assembly, says he will continue to be the Chief Minister. Deepam death in Tamil Nadu. Devotee of Lord Murugan kills self. Hindu groups hold a protest in Madurai. Rajya Sabha MP Sudha Murthy falls victim to deepfake after AI-generated video of Murthy promoting fake investment scheme goes viral. Murthy cautions people against trusting such videos. Probe into the Bondi shooting. Probe reveals shooter Sajid Akram renewed his Indian passport for 10 years in 2022, even as Indian agencies joined the investigation to dig deeper into his radicalization. Top focus this hour remains the anarchy ensuing in Bangladesh. This as India's neighbor is on the edge as violent protests erupt following the death of student leader Sharif Usman Hadi. The interim government, led by Mohammad Yunus, has appealed for restraint, blaming the unrest on fringe elements. But tensions have escalated sharply after the brutal lynching of a Hindu man. The victim, Deepu Chandra Das, was attacked by a mob over alleged blasphemy, then hung from a tree and set on fire. In a statement, the government condemned the killing, saying there's no space for such violence in New Bangladesh, vowing that the perpetrators will not be spared. With anti-India and Islamist anger spilling onto the streets, concerns are mounting over the country's stability ahead of elections. All right, so remember, CNN News 18 has been bringing you all the latest and live updates as we know that the protests are now getting out of control. The statement coming in from the Mohammad Yunus regime is also being put to question. In fact, two statements have already come out is what we are being told. All right, we are being told that Anand Narasimhan and Komalika join me live on the broadcast. Anand, to come to you first right now. How bad is the situation at the moment, given that this is just hours before Hadi's mortal remains arrive? What can we now expect next?
Well, we just have seen the latest pictures and we check with the team if they can relay the latest pictures coming in from Dhaka, and the crowd that is assembling, it's just only increasing by the minute and they're only getting more and more violent, if I may say, or anxious, restive, if I may say. And if things get out of control, especially around the time that Usman Hadi's mortal remains are brought back from Singapore, it's scheduled around 6 p.m. IST, we're given to understand the airport has literally become a fortress because they do not want any untoward incident or any acts of violence or vandalism to be perpetrated by supporters of Usman Hadi. Now, interestingly, Usman Hadi was an outlier. He's not somebody who's actually a fringe element. He was not even somebody who was part of the mainstream level of discourse. But the sentiment that's being whipped around him is to try and fuel a very anti-Awami League, anti-Sheikh Hasina, and thereby an anti-India narrative. So there are two things that are being whipped up, and this is the classic ISI playbook. And somewhere the intent is to deny Bangladesh elections in February, to try and maintain status quo in such a way that the radicals continue to have a free run. The army is watching very, very carefully. Will they continue to remain neutral, or will they perhaps take the right stand is a big question in this case. Because around Usman Hadi, what is being perpetrated, with two leading newspapers being burnt, the Shafiq al-Alam, the close aide of Mohammad Yunus, coming out and apologizing to the editors of Pratham Alo and the Daily Star that we are sorry that despite your request we couldn't help you out, shows the helplessness of the Yunus establishment. And that's the reason why it's on the edge. Dhaka is on the edge at this point, and things may go either way. over the next few hours.
It's also bringing back the horrific memories of the way minorities were targeted in August of 2024. Going to request you, Anand, stay with me. Let me quickly go across to Kamalika. Kamalika, as Anand was also highlighting, we've seen some very unprecedented scenes. Two leading media publishing houses completely gutted, 30 journalists running for life, the Indian High Commission being targeted. What explains the kind of horrifying scenes that are ensuing, and also shed light on the anti-India rhetoric that's now currently emanating from Bangladesh?
See, one thing is very clear, that's what we are getting it from our intel sources also people who are there in Bangladesh, is this is something which seems to have portrayed, with all these things happening there is going to be a portrayal in international world, is that situation in Bangladesh is right now in an anarchy. And if there is anarchy, then there will be no election, and Mohammad Yunus will continue as president, and this with all this advisory government that will run. That is, you know, some people are saying, and also some sources of us is saying, that this is also a plot, as Anand was also pointing it out, that this is also a playbook of ISI, which we know that the hobnobbing of ISI has increased in much greater rate after 5th August 2 years back. So definitely one thing is there, that thing is very clear, that Bangladesh is not in a right position. Bangladesh is on the edge. Bangladesh situation is deteriorating, and this type of unrest will continue till the election. Then how the election will take place, that's a very big question. Number two is the big question, is the torture that's happening on the minorities. We know that Chinmay Krishna Prabhu still is behind the bars. And this attack, this is probably a portrait, a showcase that, see what we are doing to the minorities. No matter what type of government comes out with what type of statements thereafter, but what has happened is happened, and there was no one. We have been talking to people in Chittagong also, in Moymansingo also, and they are saying that when they are asking for help, there is no help. And third and big point is the media who has been very much critical on the Awami League too. Those media people also has been attacked. So what is it? Who is controlling it? This is not in the control of the government. This is absolutely in the control of those fundamentalists. That is what is concerning.
All right, stay with me. Let me quickly go back to Anand, who continues to stay with us. Anand, on the note of how minorities continue to be targeted, particularly the Hindus, CNN News 18 has also accessed some documents. If you can take our viewers through what we've accessed.
Well, the documents accessed with CNN News 18 very clearly point to a structured, organized effort to try and target minorities. Dipu Chandra Das's family is inconsolable. The fact that since the time that the Mohammad Yunus government has taken over, there are more than 1,200 recorded instances where deliberately minorities and minority establishments have been targeted, and especially in areas where the Jamiyat have had a certain level of presence. So that's why Chattogram in and around Dhaka region and some other districts like Khulna, etc., where Hindus have been very clearly targeted and persecuted. On the face of it, they are called Awami League supporters, but clearly the chants that have been raised and the slogans that have been raised while these people have been lynched, their properties seized, the women assaulted, them being killed, etc., have been chants which are Islamist in nature, very clearly trying to establish the supremacy of one religion over the other. It's not about one political party over the other, and it's a series of documents that we have accessed, series of instances that have been chronicled by none other than Bangladeshi media itself. And that's what we are putting out here for our viewers. Since August 2024, ever since Mohammad Yunus regime took over, till about December 2025, it's a series, and every month there have been one or the other, and more importantly, the cops have not registered cases, nor have there been regular hearings in the courts when these matters have gone into the courts under the Yunus regime.
All right, let's quickly take that point forward with Kamalika also, who continues to stay with us. All right, Kamalika, we've seemed to have lost that connection with Kamalika, but Anand continues to stay with us. Anand, there's also now reports indicating that there could be perhaps an ISI involvement also, and how this entire crisis is being manufactured, given the timing of this. If you can take us through how crucial the timing is.
Well, we've seen ever since the Yunus regime. In fact, recently the ISI chief was in Dhaka, and they officially announced the setting up of an ISI desk within the offices of the interim advisor, that is Mohammad Yunus. So the ISI's presence has been established, and they have increased their presence, and deliberately so. From the time Sheikh Hasina sought refuge in Bharat, and Mohammad Yunus has taken over there. The other part is that what's playing out is a classic ISI playbook. First, create an issue or a situation. So someone like an Osman Hadi being shot dead, it's more the handiwork of the ISI and its goons or its mercenaries, rather than Awami League or Bharat, because the Awami League, he is no threat, and he is an outlier. But then to whip up the sentiment against Sheikh Hasina, against Bharat, create an aggression amongst in the mood of, among the people, co-opt social media entities, buy them out, and to try and activate Pakistani handles to try and project themselves as emerging out of Bangladesh, and further this entire vitriol against Sheikh Hasina and Bharat. All of this is a classic divide and rule, divide and continue to prevail playbook of the ISI, and they have practiced this in Bharat in various areas, and they're doing the same in Dhaka right now. And that's why intelligence agencies believe this is all the handiwork of the ISI, because for the ISI, an elected government means their footprint, their influence over the Dhaka regime or in Bangladesh reduces, and that's why they would not want elections in February.
All right, stay with me, Anand. We also have some more inputs on this entire news story, as Indian diplomatic missions in Bangladesh remain on high alert as violent anti-India protests are erupting across the entire nation. The unrest has followed the death of Usman Hadi, a radical anti-Hasina leader who succumbed to gunshot injuries while being treated in Singapore. Enraged mobs have reportedly laid siege to Indian outposts, prompting New Delhi to even issue a formal démarche demanding safety for its diplomats and acting against rising Islamist rhetoric. Interim government head Mohammad Yunus has appealed for restraint, even as speculation grows that his own administration may be under threat. Intelligence inputs warn of escalating violence ahead of elections, with critics accusing the Yunus-led interim government of even a weak control. Listen in to what Mohammad Yunus has had to say.
আইনশৃঙ্খলা রক্ষাকারী বাহিনী ও সংশ্লিষ্ট সংস্থাগুলোকে পেশাদারিত্বের সঙ্গে তদন্ত কার্যক্রম পরিচালনা করে সুযোগ দিন। রাষ্ট্র আইনের শাসন প্রতিষ্ঠায় সম্পূর্ণরূপে প্রতিশ্রুতিবদ্ধ। আমি আবারও স্পষ্টভাবে বলতে চাই, ওসমান হাদি ছিলেন পরাজিত শক্তি ফ্যাসিস্ট সন্ত্রাসীদের শত্রু। তার একান্ত ইচ্ছা ছিল আসন্ন নির্বাচনে প্রতিদ্বন্দ্বিতা করে নতুন বাংলাদেশ বিনির্মাণের পরবর্তী ধাপে সক্রিয় ভূমিকা রাখা। আগামী দিনগুলোতে আমাদের সবাইকে ধৈর্য, সংযম, সাহস ও দূরদর্শিতার সঙ্গে এগিয়ে যেতে হবে। অপপ্রচার ও গুজবে কান না দেই এবং যে কোনো হঠকারী সিদ্ধান্ত থেকে বিরত থাকে।
Right now, I am in front of one of the burned news media office. This is one of the leading Bangladeshi newspaper. This is the most readed Bangladeshi newspaper in the entire world. I am here in front of the office of this burned media newspaper. Last night there was a big protest happened inside the entire Dhaka. There was few other places also burned. One just 500 or 300 meters from there. Another news media, the Daily Star buildings also was burned last night. And there was a huge protest after the young leader Sharif Usman Hadi's death. He was shot 1 week before, and last night he was confirmed dead in Singapore. And after that there was lots of chaos inside the city. So this is one of the place I will show you around. So as you can see, there is already police have sealed the places, and it's become a crime scene zone. You can see there is police car, and also inside the building police are collecting the evidence, and This was one of the leading newspaper. Already they were not able to publish today's newspaper, and their online transmissions also not working properly, and it's been stopped actually, if I can say, as the police are heavily guarded here.
As far as India is concerned, remember, there is a conscious effort to drum up the anti-India rhetoric. What explains this anti-India playbook that is currently being witnessed in Bangladesh? First and foremost, to begin with, the reason India bashing is distracting the Yunus regime from the kind of economic distress that Bangladesh is currently confronted with. The second reason is that use of external threats as a pretext to delay the polls, because remember, this is the only way through which the Mohammad Yunus regime can ensure that it returns to power. Thirdly, India bashing placates Islamists just ahead of polls, because the extremists, the jihadists, and what many are also labeling as terrorists would be seen in a very positive light. Fourth, aligning with China, Pakistan gains leverage for Bangladesh and the kind of funding it's looking towards to gain from Pakistan. Fifth, the stirring of tension secures Mohammad Yunus for more political advantage. How this will impact, let's take it forward with Anand, who continues to stay with us. So Anand, all of these reasons put together, how is Mohammad Yunus standing to benefit?
Well, the argument against Mohammad Yunus has been that he has nothing but crafted meticulous chaos. And he is one of the richest individuals in the world with a net worth or assets more than that run into billions of dollars. He is no longer a Bangladesh citizen, but yet remains at the seat of power in Bangladesh. He is a US and French citizen. He holds dual nationalities or dual passports. How he has come there and who are the forces behind him automatically point to the fact that they want Bangladesh to remain in a flux. As we speak, Bangladesh is also hurtling towards financial doldrums. Their mills are shut down, the garment factories are shut down, exports of the ports are shut down. There is nothing that is moving with respect to Bangladesh's exports to the region, and the imports are also struggling. They have no money. They are actually functioning on borrowed funds from the international community. Bangladesh was a financially endowed state, capable, and it was the fastest growing economies in this region just about 3 to 4 years ago. So things have gone from bad to worse in the last 18 months under the Mohammad Yunus regime. Who does this help? This helps entities who don't want Bangladesh to exercise its franchise and its autonomy in terms of who it leans for or against. Both Beijing and the US deep state are very closely watching what is happening, and Sheikh Hasina in the past has very clearly said that she has been dethroned or she's been unseated only because she denied the white man the St. Martin Islands. So geopolitically, Bangladesh is located at an area which is very, very vital for the hegemonistic powers, but also for Bharat. Now, how Bharat moves in at this time, at all costs, they want, and at least somewhere intel sources very clearly say that the Bharatiya establishment wants an elected government and they want free and fair elections in February. Can there be free and fair elections when Sheikh Hasina is banished? Sheikh Hasina has been sentenced to death or to lifetime imprisonment, and the Awami League stands banned in Bangladesh? That's a big question. But with this, Mohammad Yunus continues to try and hold a fort or sit in front as the puppet or the mask behind which the radical forces within Bangladesh who are trying to embed themselves and try and become stronger continue to operate. And that's the reason why there are elements who want to desperately derail the process of elections in February in Bangladesh. That's the current situation, Akanksha. Back to you.
Many thanks to you, Anand, for putting that into perspective for us. Speaking of the Bangladesh Awami League, they're saying that this is now a step down for Bangladesh as far as the belief in democracy, the belief in moderate forces was concerned. Let's quickly try and get in more perspective. In fact, joining us on the broadcast right now is Muhammad Ali Arafat, who's a former information minister of Bangladesh under the Sheikh Hasina regime. Many thanks to you, Mr. Arafat, for joining in. Of course, the kind of crackdown on media has been seen earlier as well, but the kind of scenes we have witnessed today, whether it is, the media houses like Prathamalo being burnt down, Daily Star completely gutted, 30 journalists in fact being chased down, this is rather unprecedented.
Yes, I mean, this crackdown is not only on media or Pratham and Daily Star. This crackdown is actually on Bangladesh, and it has been happening since August 5th, 2024. I mean, they cracked down on the business institutions of the Awami League leaders and, the left-leaning or pro-71 business people. They invaded the houses and offices of the Awami League leaders. And, there's a big factory of that would manufacture tire. They set on fire on that factory. It's near to Dhaka, and more than 200 people were trapped inside, and all of them got killed. So all those kind of things are happening now. They have set fire on Pratham and Daily Star, and so many people, as you said, mentioned, are in such a big risk of losing their life. So this is, and more than 500 Awami League leaders and activists got killed since August 5th, 2024. So they have been attacking any that holds the values of 1971, the very fundamental spirit of the liberation of Bangladesh. They targeted the House 32, Bangabandhu's residence. Last night, they attacked on a cultural institute called Chayanot that used to train our kids, our children, the music and any kind of other art forms and everything. So anything that holds the secular values, these people are going after, because they're the radical elements, pro-Pakistani elements, and they're the people actually went against us in the so-called revolution they talk about in July, August in 2024. And they're the one who killed police, attacked the police stations. There was a full-scale insurgency during that time, but many people did not want to understand.
Right.
So now it is unfolding, getting even more evident to the whole world.
So, Mr. Arafat, Usman Hadi's killing is being seen as a tipping point to punish even, say, the other student leaders who are consistently being, in fact, beaten. Many of them have, in fact, even been abducted. They were all part of the July uprising. Such is the reward for the ouster of Sheikh Hasina regime. Another factor is that much of the violence is also being used to justify anti-India rhetoric, especially after Sheikh Hasina's exile in India. How do you respond to this becoming a bone of contention in the current India-Bangladesh bilateral relationship?
Okay, it's a very, very good question. See, if you look at the context in Bangladesh, who are these people are dominating right now our political landscape? All the radical Islamic elements, and all those people are the pro-Pakistani elements. Their predecessor were basically the Razakars, the collaborators with the Pakistani army back in 1971. So they know that the freedom fighters fought for the independence of Bangladesh, and India came into the picture and helped us. So together, the freedom fighters and the India army together, we defeated the Pakistani army and the collaborators. So they had to concede the defeat, and they could not come out of that shame. So their next generation are trying to take the revenge against it. That's why they went ahead and attacked and demolished the Bangabandhu's residence at road number 32. And I don't know whether you have followed it. One of the senior officials of the Pakistan's intelligence chief, he made a post on the social media that day, welcomed that act, saying that in his view, the conspiracy of separating Pakistan was conceived in that house. So you can see a clear trend and a pattern. They're attacking all the structures of the 71. So these people are the anti-71 group. These people are the pro-Pakistani group and the Islamic radicals. So therefore, they see India and Bangladesh and India's relationship through the lens of the Pakistani military intelligence. They do not consider India as another country or a neighboring country. They see India as an enemy country from the outset, right? Therefore, the objective is to, antagonize people through this anti-Indian rhetoric. Now, tell me one thing, just one thing. Let me give you an example. This Usman Hadi guy, he got killed. Why did he get killed? In Dhaka, in Bangladesh? He's a Bangladeshi citizen. Who killed him, apparently, the suspect is also a Bangladeshi citizen. And has there been any official announcement from the Yunus government that the killer may have crossed the border and entered India? No, right? So how India is involved into this thing? That Yunus government called the Indian High Commissioner asking him, in case the suspect leaves Bangladesh and enter India, then they want help. Let him do it first. The event happened in Bangladesh. The killer and the killed everyone is Bangladeshi citizen. Yunus government is blaming India. So they are intentionally building up against India just to capitalize that emotion among this, Islamic radicals, pro-Pakistan elements. to support them and getting some kind of benefit out of it.
All right. So lastly, I just want to ask you, interesting that you highlight how the Naya Bangladesh is viewing India through the lens of, say, Pakistan ISI. Having said that, how do you respond to ISI's involvement, rather reports indicating ISI's involvement in this current manufactured crisis?
Yes, absolutely. See, these pro-Pakistan elements, the Islamic radicals, they are completely looking through the lens of the Pakistani military establishment. I have full sympathy, having said that, for the people of Pakistan. I believe the people of Pakistan, they deserve democracy, the rule of law. They deserve freedom, but they do not have any of this. All because of this Pakistani narrative, the military establishment narrative that they used back in 1971 and killed 3 million people, Bengali people. Now they're doing the same thing in Pakistan, and they're applying the same thing in Bangladesh, among the Bangladeshi people. And they're also getting excited with the jihadi Josh, you understand? Some kind of fake, fictitious, imaginary enemy, they're calling it India, and using that, capitalizing that to unite themselves with that, and they're just going through the path of destruction, nothing else. Because what happened during Sheikh Hasina's tenure, during our time? We had a very fruitful relationship with India, cooperation and collaboration. We saw the relationship through the lens of 1971, not through the lens of the Pakistani military establishment. So what happened is we resolved the land boundary problems through the land boundary agreement. We resolved the maritime boundary issues. We resolved many problems. Not only that, we went ahead and took up so many projects together that eventually benefited the people of both the countries. So to see the diplomacy or a relationship through the positive lens, this is not their cup of tea. These people always want to go through the path of destruction, instigations, and enmity, animosity. And so this is going to be the outcome. You see the destruction, fire, arson. This is going to be the eventual outcome. Look at Pakistan. So they're trying to turn Bangladesh into another Pakistan, basically.
All right, Mohammad Ali Arafat, thank you so much for joining in on Nation at 5 and sharing those insights with us. I thoroughly appreciate. With that, shifting focus over to some breaking inputs coming in. This is, in fact, with regards to Jammu and Kashmir, security agencies have now sounded a high alert just ahead of New Year celebrations following intelligence inputs about a possible terror strike in the border areas of Punjab and Jammu and Kashmir. According to sources, a Lashkar-e-Taiba module comprising 3 terrorists has been detected and is believed to be planning infiltration into India. Intelligence agencies have flagged the Ravi River route as a potential infiltration corridor, with input suggesting that the terrorists may attempt to cross the border using boats. The targets identified include key security installations in Pathankot district of Punjab and even Kathua district of Jammu and Kashmir. Let's quickly go across to Tejinder Singh Sodhi, who brings us those breaking inputs. Tejinder, what are you learning in terms of what all have security agencies been able to identify about this module?
See, Akanksha, security across the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir and the bordering state of Punjab has been beefed up after security forces got this input that a group of 3 Lashkar-e-Toiba terrorists, they are planning to infiltrate. They have been spotted, and what is more shocking, that 2 notorious drug dealers who are from, though they are Indians, but now they are settled in Pakistan. They have been identified as Bilal Dawn and Nazakat Hussain. They are in Pakistan and they are helping this group of terrorists to infiltrate, to cross over to the Indian side to carry out terror strikes. There are various sensitive military installations, both in Pathankot and also in the Kathua district of Jammu and Kashmir, which are believed to be on the target of these terrorists. So that is why the security apparatus all across the Kathua region, the Samba region, and also in the Pathankot region of Punjab has been increased. What security agencies do believe that this is a group of 3 dreaded terrorists of Lashkar-e-Toiba. They have been well trained. They have heavy equipment. They have been spotted near the international border on the other side of the international border in Kathua and as well as in Pathankot. So efforts are being made by this group to infiltrate into the Indian side, and they are getting the support from 2 these dreaded narco smugglers. So clearly, these there is a link between narco smugglers and the terrorists, and they both are trying to send this group into the Indian side. The security forces do say that we have maintained highest level of the vigil. Right now, we are also at one such police post on the international border to see what security arrangements have been made. So we went to the international border. Later, we will be sharing those reports from the ground to show how security arrangements have been increased along the international border to thwart any by these Pakistani cross over to the Indian side. Yes, Akanksha.
Many thanks to you, Tejinder, for bringing us all those latest inputs on that news story. With that, we're slipping into a quick break. Stay tuned to CNN News 18 here on Nation at 5 as we return with the latest news and updates.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Country, causing deep concerns in New Delhi as well. The unrest, remember, has followed the death of Usman Hadi, a radical anti-Hasina leader who succumbed to gunshot injuries while undergoing treatment in Singapore. Enraged Islamized mobs have reportedly laid siege to Indian diplomatic missions, with protests increasingly targeting India. Amid escalating violence, the interim government head Mohammad Yunus has even addressed the nation, appealing for restraint, even as speculation grows that his government itself may be under threat. India, remember, just days ago issued a formal démarche demanding the safety of its own diplomats and action against rising anti-India Islamist rhetoric. Separately, a Hindu youth was beaten to death in Bhaluka over allegations of insulting religion. Intelligence inputs, in fact, accessed by CNN News 18, point to escalating violence just ahead of elections, with critics accusing the Yunus-led interim government of weak control and analysts even warning of managed instability driven by radical and political groups. All right, I'm in fact joined in by Mazhar Khan, who's a journalist from Bangladesh. He's joining me live. Mr. Khan, we stand in solidarity with you and the entire media fraternity in Bangladesh. What's happened is deeply tragic and disturbing, because if the media of a country is not safe, what does it speak of the kind of anarchy that's ensuing in Bangladesh?
In fact, if we go through a deeper look inside the story, see, the Daily Star and Pratham Alo was one of the two leading newspaper in Bangladesh. One is in English, one is in Bengali.
Right.
Not the protesters not only attacked on their office, but also they have attacked on the press. They are about 30 kilometers away from the city. So these all things are interrelated. As you have mentioned that before election violence is very common in Bangladesh. So this is part of election procedure so far we believe. And regarding the freedom of press, always there was a pressure in media in Bangladesh. So far everywhere across the world, media groups are under pressure. But this kind of violence, this kind of attack is very rare. So far, I believe, because near about 30 plus of our journalists and
right.
that media staffs were stuck on the roof.
Because that's exactly what we are coming to. 30 journalists, in fact, running for their life. Two leading media houses, including the Daily Star, they've been burnt down. Last year itself, we saw much violence targeting the minorities. This time again, the minorities are being targeted. But what's even more disturbing is that the diplomatic missions, look at the protests and the kind of anger outside India's High Commission office over there. The diplomats are not safe. There's a démarche that's been issued by India. Don't you see that this is also the failure of the Mohammad Yunus regime?
Basically, let me give you the description of the yesterday night. While the fire brigade troops were moving towards the blazed building of the Daily Star, the protesters stopped them from doing their jobs. Same the way they were acting, it's like these two newspapers, especially two newspapers, are their enemy. Besides, let me inform you another thing. Nurullah, one of the editor of one English newspaper, Mr. Nurul, was also attacked on the same night at Karwan Bazar. So these are very alarming for each and every citizen of this country, not only for our journalists. And regarding that minority
what's your assessment of Mohammad Yunus's speech that he delivered last night? He's almost coming across as a lame duck interim advisor now, looking after Bangladesh. He's certainly not being able to do enough to crack down on the ones who are actually responsible for the kind of vandalism and arson that Bangladesh is seeing yet again.
Let me take you back to the 2025. While he took over the interim government as a chief advisor, he strongly mentioned
2024 August.
2024 August, yeah. While he took over the government, he mentioned strongly that if such violence goes on, he will resign. See, this kind of violence is still going on, and especially targeted people and establishments are targeted to vandalized by the mobs. So this time he's not keeping his word again. He's just saying his words just to stay calm, but no actions are seen properly.
Mr. Khan, what is your assessment of the upcoming election in February and the July Charter referendum? Critics of the Yunus regime, particularly those voices from the media, have highlighted that this is bound to be a rigged referendum, one which will only ensure the return of extremism and a caliphate in Bangladesh. I'd like your thoughts.
In short, I have only 30 years experience in journalism, especially I have been through investigation journalism several years. So my observation is that this mob is a very small part of the total 20 million people. Okay, so they are doing it through social hatred. Social media's hatred was spread from two of our social media activists from abroad, and they are inspired by them.
Welcome back. You're watching Nation at 5 and we bring to you this hour some breaking inputs coming in from the state of Tamil Nadu, as what we are learning is that the draft SIR electoral roll has finally been published and 14.25 lakh voters have been removed in Chennai alone. In fact, to give you a breakup of district to district sort of breakup that we are receiving right now, in Dindigul alone, lakhs of voters have in fact been removed, but in Chennai, 14.25 voters have been removed so far. The reasons cited have in fact been given that several voters are still missing. Many have even died, or some have even shifted homes. Let's quickly go across to Purnima, who's joining me live with the latest inputs. Purnima, what are the reasons that have been cited, and is Chennai reporting the largest number of voter deletions?
So far, as per the data that we have accessed, Chennai has the highest number of voters who've been removed. 14.25 lakh voters have been removed. Earlier, it was 40.04 lakh voters. Now, after SIR, 25.79 lakh voters. In Coimbatore, there are over 6.5 lakh voters who've been dropped. In Dindigul, it's 2.34 lakhs. In Karur, it's pretty less. 79,690 voters have been dropped, and in Kanchipuram, 2.74 lakh voters. At the moment, Chennai seems to have the highest number of voter deletion. 5:30 is when the press conference of the Election Commission is expected. So now that the data is being released, we will get more clarity on the reasons for this, and we'll have to wait for that conference for more answers from the Election Commission.
Many thanks to you, Purnima, for bringing us all those latest inputs on that news story. Shifting focus now over to the Aravalis, the oldest fold mountain belt in India. The Aravali Hills, considered a symbol of Rajasthan's soul, is now under threat. Why so? These are not just our words. These are the words of the nation's top environmentalists and former officials. On 20th of November this year, the Apex Court accepted the recommendations of a committee of Ministry of Environment on a uniform definition of the Aravali Hills and ranges. What is the definition? Let's break it down for you. The Aravalli Hill will be defined as any landform in designated Aravalli districts with an elevation of 100 meters or more above its local relief, and an Aravalli range will be a collection of 2 or more such hills within 500 meters of each other. While the verdict was aimed at safeguarding the world's oldest mountain systems, experts, environmental activists and local residents have raised alarms about the new 100-meter threshold. A report by Forest Survey of India indicates that only 1,048 hills of the total 12,081 hills mapped across multiple states meet the 100 meters criterion. Before we break it down for you, let's also get you a reaction.
निश्चित रूप से अरावली को लेके जो एक जजमेंट आया है, पूरा प्रदेश चिंतित है। ये अरावली नहीं, हमारे जीवन का एक हिस्सा है जिसको खत्म करने का बहुत बड़ा षड्यंत्र जो है वो रचा जा रहा है। अगर मैं राजस्थान की बात करूं तो लगभग 550 के आसपास, जो 550 किलोमीटर के आसपास जो अरावली हमारे प्रदेश से होकर निकल रही है, सबसे बड़ा भूभाग 80% से ज्यादा भूभाग अरावली का जो है वो राजस्थान में है। तो राजस्थान के लोगों की ज्यादा जिम्मेदारी बनती है। तो इसको बचाने के लिए हम सब मजबूती के साथ सड़क से लेकर सदन तक लड़ने के लिए आगे आए हैं, और तमाम जो भी साथी इस मुहिम को आगे तक बढ़ा रहे हैं, हम उनके साथ में हैं।
All right, so it is the 100-meter threshold which has now become that point of concern. As we highlighted those figures for you, roughly slightly above 1,000 hills out of the 12,000 that have been identified actually are meeting that criterion. Why is that a point of concern? We will also be getting into that, but remember, this is after the Supreme Court came up with its own set of observations in November this year. More importantly, it is now becoming a larger campaign about saving the Aravallis, where in fact more than 2 or 3, a cluster of hills identified from Rajasthan, particularly in the state of Rajasthan, will in fact be clubbed under the Aravalli range. On your screen you can see it will include states of Rajasthan, even Gujarat and Haryana, as well as Delhi. Let's quickly go across to Chandrasekhar Vyas, who will break it down for us. Chandrasekhar ji, जरा और जानकारी दीजिए कि ये 100 मीटर थ्रेशोल्ड क्यों इतना क्रूशल हो रहा है? All right, we'll try and reconnect with Chandrasekhar Vyas at the moment, but as far as the Aravalli range is concerned, we all know that they are a crucial ecological barrier against the Thar Desert, whether it's in the states of Rajasthan, Gujarat, or even say the national capital Delhi. The kind of protection they give us is in fact indispensable. Let's quickly go back to Chandrasekhar Vyas. Chandrasekhar ji, सबसे पहले तो जानकारी दीजिए कि ये 100 मीटर थ्रेशोल्ड जो है ये इतना ज़रूरी क्यों है अभी?
देखिए, बात अगर करें तो राजस्थान की बात करें तो जो पर्यावरणीय दृष्टि से जो अरावली पर्वतमाला है, ये पूरे राजस्थान की बैकबोन है, और इसको लेकर जो निर्णय आया है कि जो 100 मीटर से नीचे है उसको जो संरक्षित श्रेणी में नहीं माना जाता है, तो कहीं ना कहीं उसको लेकर विरोध जो है लगातार दर्ज किया जा रहा है। राजस्थान का 10% जो भूभाग है उसमें जो ये अरावली पर्वतमाला का 10% जो है वो यहाँ पर है। बात करेंगे सबसे पहले क्या विरोध किस बात का और क्या ज्ञापन दिया आपने और किस चीज को लेकर विरोध कर रहे हैं?
आज जो हमने विरोध दर्ज करवाया जिला कलेक्टर के मार्फत राष्ट्रपति जी को ये ज्ञापन सौंपा है। जो हाल ही में सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने जो अरावली पर्वत को लेकर जो निर्णय दिया था, उसमें उन्होंने 100 मीटर की जो पहाड़ी थी उनको तो पहाड़ी माना है, उसके अलावा ऐसी छोटी पहाड़ी को पहाड़ी नहीं मानकर उनको खनन विभाग के अंतर्गत डालने का जो निर्णय लिया, उस निर्णय के विरोध में हमने आज अपनी बात रखी है। और हम भारत सरकार के जो भी पर्यावरण जो मंत्री है भूपेंद्र यादव जी, उनसे भी हमने ये निवेदन किया है कि वो हमारी बात आगे तक पहुंचा, क्योंकि वो भी अरावली पर्वतमाला में पले बड़े हैं और वो इस क्षेत्र से आते हैं, वो इस क्षेत्र से भली भांति परिचित है, लेकिन फिर भी वो अपना और सरकार की ओर से अगर मजबूती पक्ष नहीं रख पा रहे, तो ये कहीं ना कहीं सरकार की कमजोरी है। आज देखिए, जो अरावली पर्वतमाला है वो विश्व की सबसे बड़ी धरोहर और प्राचीन पर्वतमाला है, इसकी देखरेख करना हम सभी का दायित्व है। अगर राजस्थान में ये पर्वतमाला हटती है तो 90% जो पहाड़ी है वो छोटी छोटी पहाड़ी हटा दी जाएगी, और जो दिल्ली एनसीआर के हाल है, जो ऑक्सीजन की कमी वहाँ पे है हमें देखने को मिल रही है, वहाँ के हालात दिन ब दिन गंभीर होता जा रहे, वही हालात भविष्य में राजस्थान के भी हो सकते हैं। हम विकास चाहते हैं लेकिन विनाश की कीमत पर विकास नहीं चाहते, इसलिए हमने विरोध दर्ज करवाया। अगर हमारी मांगे नहीं मानेंगे तो सड़क से लेकर सदन तक युवा कांग्रेस का कार्यकर्ता इसको लेकर पुरजोर तरीके से विरोध दर्ज करेंगे।
बात करें तो जिस तरह से ये बात कही गई है कि विनाश की शर्त पर जो है विकास नहीं चाहिए, तो कहा जा सकता है कि जिस तरह से राजस्थान में अरावली पर्वतमाला जो पूरे मौसम तंत्र को जो है कहीं ना कहीं प्रभावित करती है और यहाँ का जितना भी जो सिस्टम है वेदर सिस्टम उसको कहीं ना कहीं इफेक्ट करती है। ऐसे में अगर 100 मीटर से नीचे जो है वो खनन के लिए उपयोग होने लगा तो धीरे धीरे करके ये जो श्रृंखला है वो नष्ट होती नजर आएगी। अगर बात करें तो सबसे बड़ी ऊंची चोटी जो है वो गुरु शिखर चोटी है जो कि सिरोही जिले के अंदर मौजूद है माउंट आबू के पास। और सबसे बड़ी बात लोगों का जो विरोध है वो जायज है। तो सर किस तरह से देखते हैं आप इस चीज को?
देखिए मैं बता रहा हूँ कि जो लोग ये बात करते हैं एक पौधा माँ के नाम, तो वो पूरी अरावली पर्वतमाला और श्रृंखला पूरी ख़त्म कर रहे हैं। इससे ये पूरा राजस्थान ही नहीं इसके आसपास जो भी राज्य हैं वो ख़त्म हो जाएंगे। यहाँ के जीव जंतु हम मानव जाति सारे के सारे ख़त्म हो जाएंगे। जो एक पौधा माँ के नाम पे चल रहे हैं वो पूरा अरावली पर्वतमाला को लेकर चले।
बिल्कुल देखिए विरोध अपनी जगह पे जायज़ है जिस तरह से, लेकिन कहीं ना कहीं जो तरक्की है जो उन्नति है उसके लिए भी कहीं ना कहीं रास्ते खोलना जरूरी है। ऐसे में जो निर्णय आया है कि 100 मीटर से नीचे के जो है जितने भी पर्वत हैं उनको जो है पर्वतों की श्रेणी में नहीं मानकर जो संरक्षित श्रेणी में नहीं रखा जाएगा। तो ऐसे में सबसे बड़ी चिंता जो है पर्यावरण के असंतुलन को लेकर जो है राजस्थान के लोगों को है। जी
Alright, so चंद्रशेखर व्यास also continues to stay with us. अगर 100 मीटर की जो ये पूरा जो 100 मीटर पे मुद्दा बनाया जा रहा है उसको लेके अभी तक किन किन स्टेट्स में हमने इस तरह की प्रोटेस्ट देखी हैं? क्या गुजरात, राजस्थान धीरे धीरे लेके क्या अब ये नई दिल्ली तक भी आएंगे? चंद्रशेखर व्यास जी, क्या आपको मेरी आवाज़ आ रही है?
जी 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 जी
आपने अभी अभी लोगों से ये भी चर्चा की कि विकास भी बहुत ज़रूरी है। इसी विकास के द्वारा लोगों को जो है नौकरियां भी मिल पाती हैं। उस पे इन लोगों का क्या कहना है कि वो विकास नहीं चाहते? क्या वो नौकरियां और अर्बनाइजेशन के द्वारा जो नौकरियां जनरेट हो रही हैं उसका क्या?
बिल्कुल ये सवाल मैं आपसे, लोगों को रोजगार मिलता है तो उसको लेकर क्या कहेंगे?
देखो अरावली को नष्ट करने से ना रोजगार मिलेगा ना कुछ और होगा। इसमें यह है कि अरावली पूरे राजस्थान में हमारे उत्तर दक्षिण पश्चिम से शुरू होकर उत्तर पूर्व तक पूरी में विद्वान है। उसमें बड़ी बड़े महल किले पूरी अरावली में बने हुए हैं और पेड़ पौधे भी पूरे हैं। उदयपुर में जो माना जाता है वो राजस्थान में सबसे ज्यादा पेड़ों के मामले में है। तो उससे क्या है,
देखिए ये जो चिंता जो है
चंद्रशेखर व्यास जी, ये सारी जानकारी हमें देने के लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। इनफैक्ट ऑन द फोन लाइन आई एम आल्सो जॉइंड इन बाय लीडिंग एनवायरमेंटलिस्ट विमलेंदु झा. Vimlendu, I'd like your assessment first of all on this 100-meter threshold verdict. Why is this so deeply problematic at the moment?
See, the thing is that, when you actually try to redefine a mountain range, and suddenly by this new definition that the Supreme Court has actually agreed to, almost 90% of Aravalis will not exist at all, as if it's not mountain, because, we're actually standardizing a definition in that sense. And we are not even able to understand that perhaps mining will be accepted. So mining is what this entire permission was given for, or this new definition is for. But the threat that we actually have is that, this is not just the air filter, or in that sense, the barrier between Thar and Delhi is this particular range, but also the entire ecosystem. So, Aravalis is not just trees that we're talking about, it's also our water, the entire water recharge of the entire region takes place here. And therefore, to really look at a nature, a mountain range as a wasteland, because largely that's what we're looking at, that, just because nothing happens there, and of course we don't have big trees there, or the fact that there's not growth of the mountain itself beyond 100 meters, that can't be a definition of an ecosystem. And I think there's non-application of mind by the representatives of government who actually recommended to the Supreme Court this new definition. And it's one of the oldest mountain ranges, and this is not emotion. So the idea is that here, when you look at people protesting, it's not because of faith and emotion alone. It's one of the main ecological resources that we have in this part of India. And as I said, not just from the dust barrier that it acts as, but also in terms of water recharge, or in terms of other biodiversity and other issues that it actually protects in that sense. So It's very unfortunate. It almost puts at risk 90% of the 670-kilometer range by a small change and tweak of definition in that sense.
Absolutely. This for the country's pride, which is not just an ecological resource, an entire barrier. Many thanks to you, Vimlendu, for putting that into perspective for us. With that, we're slipping into a quick break over here on Nation at 5. Stay tuned as we'll return with the latest breaking inputs.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Country, causing deep concerns in New Delhi as well. The unrest, remember, has followed the death of Usman Hadi, a radical anti-Hasina leader who succumbed to gunshot injuries while undergoing treatment in Singapore. Enraged Islamized mobs have reportedly laid siege to Indian diplomatic missions, with protests increasingly targeting India. Amid escalating violence, the interim government head Mohammad Yunus has even addressed the nation, appealing for restraint, even as speculation grows that his government itself may be under threat. India, remember, just days ago issued a formal démarche demanding the safety of its own diplomats and action against rising anti-India Islamist rhetoric. Separately, a Hindu youth was beaten to death in Bhaluka over allegations of insulting religion. Intelligence inputs, in fact, accessed by CNN News 18, point to escalating violence just ahead of elections, with critics accusing the Yunus-led interim government of weak control and analysts even warning of managed instability driven by radical and political groups. All right, I'm in fact joined in by Mazhar Khan, who's a journalist from Bangladesh. He's joining me live. Mr. Khan, we stand in solidarity with you and the entire media fraternity in Bangladesh. What's happened is deeply tragic and disturbing, because if the media of a country is not safe, what does it speak of the kind of anarchy that's ensuing in Bangladesh?
In fact, if we go through a deeper look inside the story, see, the Daily Star and Pratham Alo was one of the two leading newspaper in Bangladesh. One is in English, one is in Bengali.
Right.
Not the protesters not only attacked on their office, but also they have attacked on the press near about 30 kilometers away from the city. So these all things are interrelated. As you have mentioned that before election violence is very common in Bangladesh. So this is part of election procedure, so far we believe. And regarding the freedom of press, always there was a pressure in media in Bangladesh. So far everywhere across the world, media groups are under pressure. But this kind of violence, this kind of attack is very rare, so far I believe, because near about 30 plus of our journalists and
right.
that media staffs were stuck on the roof.
Because that's exactly what we are coming to. 30 journalists, in fact, running for their life. 2 leading media houses, including the Daily Star, they've been burnt down. Last year itself, we saw much violence targeting the minorities. This time again, the minorities are being targeted. But what's even more disturbing is that the diplomatic missions, look at the protests and the kind of anger outside India's High Commission office over there. The diplomats are not safe. There's a démarche that's been issued by India. Don't you see that this is also the failure of the Mohammad Yunus regime?
Basically, let me give you the description of the yesterday night. While the fire brigade troops were moving towards the blazed building of the Daily Star, the protesters stopped them from doing their jobs. Same the way they were acting, it's like these 2 newspapers, especially 2 newspapers, are their enemy. Besides, let me inform you another thing. Nurullah, one of the editor of one English newspaper, Mr. Nurul, was also attacked on the same night at Karwan Bazar. So these are very alarming for each and every citizen of this country, not only for our journalists. And regarding that minority,
what's your assessment of Mohammad Yunus's speech that he delivered last night? He's almost coming across as a lame duck interim advisor now, looking after Bangladesh. He's certainly not being able to do enough to crack down on the ones who are actually responsible for the kind of vandalism and arson that Bangladesh is seeing yet again.
Let me take you back to the 2025. while he took over the interim government as the chief advisor, he
You
strongly
mean
mentioned
2024 August?
2024 August, yeah. While he took over the government, he mentioned strongly that if such violence goes on, he will resign. See, this kind of violence is still going on, and especially targeted people and establishments are targeted to vandalized by the mobs. So this time he's not keeping his word again. He's just saying his words just to stay calm, but no actions are seen properly.
Mr. Khan, what is your assessment of the upcoming election in February and the July Charter referendum? Critics of the Yunus regime, particularly those voices from the media, have highlighted that this is bound to be a rigged referendum, one which will only ensure the return of extremism and a caliphate in Bangladesh. I'd like your thoughts.
In short, I have only 30 years experience in journalism, especially I have been through investigation journalism several years. So my observation is that this mob is a very small part of the total 20 million people. Okay, so they are doing it through social hatred. Social media's hatred was spread from two of our social media activists from abroad, and they are inspired by them. If the voting procedures goes with the proper way, proper proceedings are followed, then we don't think that
So do shed light on why do you believe that the entire voting procedure in the July Charter referendum could very well have chances of getting rigged?
There will be some issues raised, I believe, because all the parties are not in the same platform right now. Because you see, there are always from 1971 there were two groups. One is the supporters of Pakistan, means anti-Bangladesh. Another one is.
Welcome back. Getting in some breaking inputs coming in from Goa. In fact, authorities are now cracking down on other restaurants and bars. And in the latest in the line of fire is Curly's Restaurant Bar in Anjuna, which has been sealed by the Goa Police and the Coastal Regulation Zone officials, the Mlamlatdar and the Talati. The reason for sealing Curly's is yet to be disclosed by the authorities, what we are being told. But in fact, now in that entire crackdown that's currently taking place on other restaurants and bars in Goa, is it to do with any discrepancies when it comes to the certification, whether it was constructed on a salt plain area? We do not know. Or is it because of the earlier controversies? Remember, Curly's has also been notorious. Back in the year 2022, this very restaurant and bar was courting controversy. Let's quickly go across to Simran Babbar, who will tell us why this has been sealed. Simran, what are you learning? Has there been any indication coming in from the authorities? Could it have anything to do with the controversy back in 2022 involving in fact, Fogart and also a BJP leader from Haryana who was found dead?
Well, absolutely, Akansha rightly said. Right now, the club that has been sealed is into the north, Goa's Anjuna, and it is the second time that it has been again into the center of the controversy after Sonali Fogart's death had raised concerns about the regulations and about, in fact, the irregularities that were ongoing on that very club. But right now, if we see about the action taken up by the authorities, it is definitely due to the ongoing strengthening of the overall regulations across Goa, and as the regulations have been already in fact enforced in a stricter manner following the fire incident, it has been told so far by the authorities right now that it has violated some of the norms as well on the CRZ zone, where this coastal regulation zone has in fact been behind the ceiling. And apart from that, as you rightly mentioned, actually, 2022 was the time when Sonali Fogart was found dead here while she was found in the company of her assistant as well. And now it has again come into the center of the controversy, as we are learning. Rightly, as the official confirmation about this sealing and this action by the authorities is yet to disclose the right reason for this very announcement, but it has been sealed, and it was earlier, in fact, also demolished in the past. A section of it was demolished. But as most nightclubs in Goa, which have been given license under the name of the restaurant, they continue to flout the norms beyond the permissible hours
Right.
to also serve liquor and also, in fact, have such irregularities going on. This reason particularly will be soon also be known in the public.
Many thanks to you, Simran, for bringing us all those latest inputs from Goa over there. That's all I have for you in this edition of Nation at 5. Thank you so much for watching. News and updates continue with Poonam, in fact, on Plain Speak.
Good evening. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Poonam Burde. In the last 24 hours, Bangladesh has once again erupted into complete chaos. Streets of Dhaka and other major cities saw mass protests, arson and mob attacks that mark one of the most volatile chapters in the country's recent history. The trigger? There was outrage over the killing of a 32-year-old student leader, Sharif Usman Hadi, a prominent figure in the movement that toppled the Sheikh Hasina government last year. Protests quickly spread nationwide. Radical crowds gathered outside Indian visa centers. Leading media offices were targeted, with protesters burning property, endangering journalists and clashing with security forces in scenes of utter lawlessness. But this is not an instant reaction or a spontaneous one. It's a vehement belief that the interim government's chief, Mohammad Yunus, saw this coming. Some others believe that he quietly watched as the pot first simmered and then boiled over. In recent months, voices both from inside and outside Bangladesh have raised very hard questions about Mohammad Yunus's regime's tolerance, if not tacit support, for these radical elements. As Bangladesh teeters on the edge of deeper unrest, the world watches whether this latest wave of violence will be a passing flare-up, or will this be the beginning of a prolonged struggle